If you've been on the internet recently, which I'm sure most of you have been, you might have heard of a little indie game which has been making rounds on Twitter, Discord, and other more irrelevant social medias. The game is called The Coffin of Andy and Leyley, and well, why is this game about a brother and sister doing satanic rituals and practicing cannibalism in the meme circulation? Well, it has to be a bit popular. Most people just assume at first glance this game is just I-word bait, and partly they're right. But of course, people aren't giving a game on Steam overwhelmingly positive reviews just for its I-word topics. The game actually has depth beneath its sometimes really edgy and admittedly low-key cringe dialogue. Hey, get your fat ass out of the way. Ass? I think you meant my awesome fat tits, you cocksucker. Move, you cow. Whatever, wanker. But I believe it's unfair to automatically devolve the game to surface level observations without at least delving a bit into the game's story. Speaking of the story, the game only has 2 chapters available, so this video and psychoanalysis is only going to have the information we are given from the first and second chapter. If you have not played the game or watched a playthrough of it, if you are going to watch a playthrough of it, it'd be so epic and wholesome if you were to watch my playthrough of it. Just saying. I would recommend you go through the story yourself first before I spoil everything. Also note, this is not DSM compliant, plus I'm not certified, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. And if you feel I'm wrong on anything, then feel free to write your 5-page paragraph essay on why I'm wrong in the comment section down below.
Oh god, there's a lot of porn of him. Jesus freaking Christ. Why is there so much porn of him?
The brother Andrew is the most normal main character in the game, which is honestly not saying much, considering there's only 2 main characters, but he definitely wasn't going to end up the way he is in-game if he wasn't in a certain relationship with a certain someone. I'm first diagnosing Andrew with low-grade/mild depression. He doesn't believe he has much going for him, and due to certain people in his life, he also believes he's limited in possible future prospects involving building relationships with anyone, furthering his belief of a bleak future. An example being at the start of the game where his girlfriend breaks up with him due to Ashley's interference. But this disorder is pretty low in the list of disorders affecting his psyche. The second diagnosis is PTSD. In the past, back when there were Andy and Leyley, Leyley convinced Andy, aka Andrew, to lock a girl in a box with the hopes of her backing off of Andy. They locked her for a day, and when they came back, Andy opens the crate only to find her corpse. I'd wager a guess to say that's his first time witnessing an extremely morbid, possibly trauma-inducing event, especially one caused by him directly. In Chapter 2, we get to see Andrew relive that past event and events surrounding or correlating to it. The third and most important disorder Andrew suffers from is ASPD, aka Antisocial Personality Disorder, a disorder where the person often disregards societal morality for their own benefit or gain without remorse or regret for their actions due to a lack of empathy. Now that's weird that I say he suffers from ASPD when I also stated he suffers from PTSD, from directly killing a girl, but I'm assuming that the ASPD he's suffering from was triggered from his prolonged commitment to his sister Ashley. So during his Andy times, he definitely still at least showed a bit of compassion towards others. His sister is a special case, but over time with presumably consistent exposure and involvement to immoral activities, it inhibited his mental capacity to care and empathize. Note how I used the word triggered. I made a distinction of triggered because it was not nurtured by Ashley. Instead, their mother is most likely genetically predisposed to have ASPD as well, as hinted by multiple points in the story, including this immediately funny interaction between Andrew and his mother here. You have a draw limit on your card. I do? You do! I could only get a couple hundred before it locked me out. Ah, suck it, bitch. Being insufferable runs in the family. Although, she seems to be leading and exhibiting generally normal behavior, so either her ASPD is dormant/controlled or is very high functioning. Speaking of high functioning, the ASPD Andrew is suffering from is high functioning, meaning while he would still override societal norms and morality for his own personal gain and may lack empathy towards everyone, excluding special cases, he still has an in-depth and deep understanding of the societal norms and what is expected of him from others. The others being society. And he consistently is able to control his impulsivity. He was going to college before the game's story, so he at least knew how to behave himself and function normally. And while I've thought about this, I do not believe Andrew suffers from any negative emotional attachment disorder. He might just really care for his sister since he did basically, without the help of their parents, raise her solely by himself. He still at times understands Ashley's faults and comprehends the fact that their relationship isn't healthy for him. Side note, some of you might be thinking, well wait, if he's not empathetic, how come he has moments where he seems to be traumatized? I'd like to ask you to look at the scenes preceding and proceeding those moments. Would you say someone of moral and sympathetic values act this way? He has his slip-ups where he does regret his actions to an extent, but he's able to rationalize and cope with those feelings unnaturally quickly. Now, I guess I have to talk about her.
I think I can fix her, chat. Maybe not. I'm not sure.
Ashley the sister is not fixable, at least not by you. Stop saying you can fix her, she is long gone. Let's start out with the obvious. She clearly suffers from ASPD like her brother Andrew, but the main difference is she's low functioning. She's amoral, so whether she understands societal morality clearly doesn't matter to her as she truly lacks self-control, and so either doesn't or can't attempt to keep up appearances to be or even at least seem normal. The biggest example being wanting to trap a girl in a box without care for her well-being so she can personally gain from it, not wanting Andrew to be with other people. So it can be safe to assume she was born exhibiting ASPD. In turn of the addition of a lack of parental guidance, excluding her brother, she was not able to develop the skills in order to better self-control and build her moral compass. With Andrew being her only guidance, he was not a good influence as he was susceptible to Ashley's own influence on him. And while Andrew still tries his best to teach Ashley how to better control herself, she still displays and consistently performs actions as a result from her ASPD. She'll do things she wants to, just for the fuck of it, is commonly impulsive so she consequently does not think of the possible consequences of her actions, and will often be unable to emotionally control herself. But what some would argue is the biggest acting disorder she exhibits throughout the game is her severe emotional attachment to Andrew, or as I'd like to label it, anxious ambivalent emotional attachment. She's highly dependent on Andrew, feeling comfort and safety around him while synchronously fearful of the stability and integrity of their relationship. This leads to a crossroads where she's dependent on Andrew yet distrusts him to keep the relationship going, having anxiety whenever he attempts to build relationships with other people, with the thought process of his new relationships causing her and Andrew's relationship to diminish as a result. This is the root of her jealousy. This is most exemplified back again with the girl in the box event. Name's Nina, by the way. It's only blanked out because by Ashley's perspective, Nina has now with the passing of time become so irrelevant to Ashley that she's basically forgotten Nina's name and face. Ashley perceived Nina as a threat to her relationship with Andrew, due to fear of Andrew and Nina's respectable relationship superseding hers and Andrew's. This is the catalyst that sparked the events which caused Andrew's PTSD and in theory the triggering of his ASPD. This emotional attachment to Andrew can also conflict with her ASPD at times, especially during times of emotional outbursts. But her perceived value of the relationship will always overcome true change in the way she values Andrew. This type of emotional bond formed from the absence of parental figures in her life, with Andrew instead taking a role of guidance. Over the course of time, this led to a bond forming where she sees value in staying with Andrew due to his caretaker role in her life. Now I know some of you are thinking, isn't her attachment to Andrew a result from another mental illness? That one being borderline personality disorder. I will take a hard, controversial stance on this and say that Ashley does not suffer from borderline personality disorder. While BPD and ASPD both share many symptoms, I believe the few BPD specific symptoms Ashley exhibits can be explained by other factors. Ashley, for one, does not contemplate suicide often. She, at least not disclosed in game, does not commit self-harm as a cry for attention, and she does not have self-image issues. The only possible symptom not part of her ASPD that could be attributed to borderline personality disorder is her abandonment issues and fear of being alone, but that's one symptom. Her immorality from her ASPD combined with her anxious, ambivalent, emotional attachment to Andrew will lead to immoral behavior. But that does not mean she is unstable in her view of herself. It's clear she doesn't think lowly of herself, she does not exhibit depressive moods nor an inferiority complex. In terms of instability in her and Andrew's relationship, that's a result from impulsivity from her ASPD, and paradoxically her acting out on her fears of possible instability in their relationship. Feel free to argue against my beliefs on Ashley not having borderline personality disorder. I'd like to see some counterpoints in the comments down below if you actually have some. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take this stance on here. Now the real question here is why in the fuck is there incest? I'm sorry, I meant I word. Well, if you actually take a look at all the quirky and quasi quote-unquote sexual moments in the story, you could make an argument that no incestuous activity is actually taking place. And the reason why the two seem comfortable with intense and close physical contact with each other, sometimes seeming inappropriate, is because they themselves believe it's a normal part of being siblings, due to have never been educated on society norm in family, personal spaces, and societal acceptability on intrusion of those spaces. Which is the result, again I have to keep reiterating this, of the lack of parental figures in their lives. Unless you take the fucking incest route. I swear to God, the fucking incest route fucking ruins everything I just said about like the past paragraph. I swear to God, the incest route ruined everything for me. I don't even have a script. I'm just talking out of my ass here. What the fuck is the incest route? Okay, so let me try to like think this. How would I explain this? How would this be justified? It is not justified. It's like predicted to have sex by like the demon thing. They're going to have sex, or possibly try to prevent having sex. I don't know how hard it can be to prevent having sex with your own fucking sibling, but no. I don't know how to explain this one. I don't know how to explain this without sounding like a weirdo. Because it was it's Ashley who went up to Andrew first, right? Ashley went up to Andrew, was like, yeah, I'd rather fuck Andrew. I'd love to fuck Andrew. He's the only one I love in my life, which I guess makes sense if she has ASPD and Andrew's like the only one that she's ever cared for in life. So yeah, I guess that would make sense that she would love him, but Andrew loving her back? Andrew is relatively normal compared to Ashley. I don't know why he would ever choose that route. But I guess when you are playing as Andrew, you do get to choose between Ashley and not Ashley, I guess. So I guess it does make a little bit sense if you chose those choices, but still, holy fuck, I don't know how to explain this properly. I guess I explained it properly enough, I guess, in this unscripted document rant. I don't know. I'm just gonna continue on to the next scripted part. This part's scripted. So why in the fucking shit is the developer pushing so much of the seemingly incestuous moments into the story? Well, my game theory is it's for the bait, and to get the game into the spotlight of controversial games that can get more sales. You all have been baited. Anyways, you can't fix her, she's long gone, but you can actually fix him. Andrew is not long gone yet. He's still high functioning and was able to lead a relatively normal life compared to Ashley before the main story of the game. He will either need to cut ties with Ashley or severely limit the relationship. This will allow him to not be influenced by negative behavioral enforcement and instead free him to develop relationships which will in the long term benefit him. As for Ashley, she needs the fucking firing squad. She's a liability to everyone and will only cause distraught. She consistently has a desire to want to harm, whether it's complete strangers or her own parents. You try to fix her, and she'll stab you to death. So unless you're into that, I'd recommend to back off. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this uneducated and probably inaccurate essay in the psyche analysis of the main characters in The Coffin of Andy and Leyley. If you like it and you want to see less content like this, like and subscribe. I don't know what I'm gonna make next for my next analysis or something. I should probably end the video right now. 3, 2, 1, the video will end now. What is that on Ashley's shoulders? What is that on Andrew's shoulders as well? Are those scratches? Wait a second. Hold on.